Alright, let's look at the first technique then. So, first technique we're going to do is Chokazuki, punching on the spot. So we're going to stand with our feet just apart and we're going to place our left hand out. You can have it in a fist or you can make tatshuto as well. Keep your right fist tight on your hip, keep that elbow tucked in, make sure you squeeze your shoulder back. Now from here, all we're going to do, we're going to punch into the middle like this. So we're just going to repeat for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, a few key points. So as we initiate the punch, we're going to pull with the left hand and our hands should meet in the middle. Both hands turned upwards. And then as the hands continue, rotate the fist at the end of the technique here. So you're getting rotational energy as well as pulling back on this hikite, which is also going to increase the power of the punch. So your hands meet in the middle, keep your elbows squeezing into the side of your rib cage, and then let your hands go out and then rotate at the end here. The next thing I want you to think about is what you're doing with your hips. So there's a few different ways to do it. You meet in the middle, you extend your punch, and you can drive your hip forward like this. So you meet in the middle, you extend your hand out, and you drive your hip into the punch. So that's one way, and that's the way I like to do it. I find that it gives me a lot more power. The other way to do it is to do a hip vibration. So you do the same thing, you push your hip through, and at the end it snaps back into the middle. So you push through, and your hip snaps back into the middle. So let's do both hip variations faster. Variation number 1. And now variation number 2, where we're snapping the hip back into place. Alright, technique number 2 is Uchi-uke. Start in yoi position and always go into gidan-barai first. So step out with your left foot and form gidan-barai position. Now, take your rear leg up to the middle, step forward and punch. Make sure your hips stay in shomen-dachi here. So break it into 3 parts. Up to the middle, out, and rotate into the middle. Try and time your step with the punch. So as your foot finishes moving, you're punching out like this. Let's try it a little bit quicker. And backwards. And yamai. It's important to note that in Kihon, we want to try and keep the heels down on the ground and not allow them to lift up. So if I'm travelling forwards, I try and keep the heel down. If I'm travelling backwards, I keep the heel down. And to do that, you've got to make sure you transfer your weight correctly from one leg to the other. So if I'm going forwards, I'll bend my knee forward, so I'm putting all my weight on the front leg, and then step through. And then when I step backwards, I put all the weight on my rear leg by rocking back. That keeps the heel fixed. And then I just travel through the midpoint. Let's have a look at Uchi-uke done a little bit quicker. Now let's start looking at some of the blocking techniques. The first one we're going to look at is Agi-uke. Start in gidan-barai, and the time is super important on this one. Before we step, we lift this front hand up into the air like this. This is going to be our marking hand. We're going to use it as a hikite, and it also serves more purposes later on when you start doing ippon kumite and drilling kumite techniques as well. So your hand goes up, You're going to step through and move your feet like you did when you do Uchi-uke. Now, the important thing is to time your hips with the block. So if I turn my hips too soon and block up, then I'm using only my arm to generate power. And I want to put body mass behind this block, so I've got to link my hand with my hip rotation. So what you've got to do is, as you step, keep the side of your body back for as long as you can. Let your foot travel in position, and you can see how I'm really sort of starting to coil my body. And then all I do is I release that tension and snap the hips sideways at the very end of the technique here. It's important to note that this front hand wants to not come round, but pull straight in, like you're going to elbow your own body, and then it just slides into the side of your hip. And the other hand comes in front, and your hands start to cross, and look how my hips are twisting, so does this forearm here. So I'm getting rotational energy with the hips, rotational energy with the shoulders, and rotational energy with the forearm, and also momentum traveling forwards to help generate all that speed and power inside the block. So let's take a look at it a little bit faster. Let's look at the next block, which is Soto-uke. So everything you do in Agi-uke, in terms of the timing of the hips and the body, is the same in Soto-uke as well. The hip position for blocking is hamidachi. So when you're in your stance, instead of having your hips to the front, have your hips sideways. When you do turn your hips sideways, keep this front knee strong and don't let it come in like this. So use your inner and outer thigh muscles to constantly sort of open your stance. So now, as my hips are turned back, I'm not sacrificing the structure of the stance. It's still nice and strong. And also, when you start to create punching techniques on the end of your blocks, you can use that tension in your legs to generate power and force into the punch as well. So let's get into Soto-uke. From your position, step out into Gidan-barai. And the preparation for Soto-uke is here. This left hand goes straight, the right hand is out, and my forearm is just turning away like this. So I'm going to transition and keep the hips back for as long as we can, very much like Agi-uke, and I've got this stretch that's occurring on my front and sides, and also in my legs, because I want to keep this back for as long as possible, and then when I'm ready to release, my stance has finished moving, I can time it all together like this. So remember what we said about keeping the stance strong as you turn the hips here, and also on impact, you want to try and tense your shoulder, bicep, tricep, forearm, lats, abs, and also your stance for that half a second, just so you get the kime and the snap at the end. So here, hold it, and snap the punch in. Make sure that this hand stays out for as long as possible, and then you rotate it on impact. So not only are you getting rotational energy of the hips and the shoulders, but also the forearm as well. So that's going to add much more power to the technique and much more snap. From here then, this hand goes straight and the other hand comes to the side. Start to step through, and remember, keep your body loaded up for as long as you can. Keep that tension, and then snap into position and create that kime. Let's take a look a little bit faster. The next block we're going to look at is Gidan-barai. Now we've already been doing Gidan-barai as our starting point, so let's take a look and break it down a little bit further. So first things first is the preparation. Slightly different to the other blocks, I want to be squeezing my chest muscles, so I'm getting this kind of concave feeling, but not really rolling the shoulders forward, keeping the shoulders here, but just squeezing the chest muscles like this and getting this cross position with your arm. So my left arm is up against the side of my head, my right arm is straight and my elbows are touching, and that helps to really get that squeeze here. So as you step through into Gidan-barai, you make your position, you make your stance, and then you release the tension in your chest, and then use your back muscles and expand. And this is the same principle for all your blocking techniques. So, preparation, step through, and then really use your back muscles now to open up that chest here. When you're in position and you've executed the block, make sure you keep that other elbow and shoulder hidden from view by really pulling on your hip. Now, step through. We hit the midpoint. My hands are already in position. I start to step out, and look, my hips haven't yet moved yet. So as I finish making the stance, that's when I execute the block, and I time it with the hips again. Now, make sure this hand runs down your other hand and then turns at the end, so you're getting that extra rotation, like so. The last technique before we get into the drill on our particular syllabus is Mae-geri. Starting your position, and there might be a few different ways on how people start this off. In our school, we step through and perform Gidan-barai and then twist into Uchi-uke. Now, in Uchi-uke, you can have your hands here. Some people have their hands to the side, and what we want to try and do with our hand position is just keep everything nice and still. So it's helping us to utilize our core muscles and also the legs to generate power instead of throwing your upper body around to generate power that way. And that's okay, but get used to using your body first before you start to use your upper body, and this is a really good way to do that. So, Gidan-barai first, one, and then just turn into Uchi-uke and bring this knee up, nice and high. So if you turn to the side, you'll see it a little bit clearer. So the knee comes up, and I keep this bend in this rear foot here, and I'm going to snap the foot out, and then from here, let your foot go down and push your hips forward, and that's going to stop you from kicking and falling into position without control. So we want to keep control of our body all the way through. So again, we're here in position. The other thing to do is to make sure you bring your heel up to your bum and really squeeze the hamstrings up. So my hamstrings are squeezing, then release the kick, down and push your body into position here. Show you from the other side. So squeeze the hamstring, lift the knee up, try and keep the rear foot straight, and don't lean back when you kick. What you do want to do is tilt your hips forward as you kick, so your hips are going forwards and back, but your upper body stays still. Here, kick, and then land in front. Notice how when I'm kicking, I'm curling the toes upwards, so I'm connecting with the ball of the foot, and it's not a push, but a snap and a strike. For our first belt, we don't have a kata, but we do have a footwork blocking and punching drill that you need to be able to do, and it's called 4-direction. Now, even if this isn't in your syllabus, it's still a really good drill to help coordinate your legs and your arms stepping in different directions. So let's begin. Start in yoi position and step back with the right leg and perform Gidambarai here. And then step forward and punch to here. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go anti-clockwise, to the side, to the back, to the side, and then finish back to the front again. And what I've got to do is coordinate my hands and feet so they come into the middle together, like this, and then step back and block like this. As well, turn your head at the same time, so everything's completing together, here and back. And then step forward and punch. And we're just going to repeat going all different directions, so into the middle and back. And step forward and punch. Into the middle. And don't forget, when you are in this position, don't be relaxed. Make sure you keep tension in the legs. So you use that tension to drive back into position. And then lastly to the front, squeeze your chest muscles, squeeze these inner thigh muscles, step back, step forward, punch with the ki, and then back to yame. So let's look at this a little bit faster. What we need to try and do is prepare, bring your feet together, look, all as one, and we're not going to stop in the middle now, we're going to go all the way through to the end of the sequence. Well done everyone, hope you enjoyed that. Now don't forget, if you did like this video, please give it a like, drop me a comment on how you found it and if it helped, and also please subscribe for more videos. See you next time.